I'm not a pilot, I do make mistakes. The information provided in these tutorials is only to get you guys up in the virtual sky. None of it is accurate enough for real-world application. So aviation is such a huge subject. People go to school for years to train on how to become a pilot and how to fly and get their pilot's license. DCS is a simulator. So what Eagle Dynamics is trying to do is take the experience of what it is to fly in a real world setting that people go through years and years of training to do, squeeze that down into something that we can experience in our own home in a virtual setting. So it can get very complicated. It does actually cover a lot of aviation subjects in order to be able to do the best you can do. So what I'm going to do in these videos is I'm going to cut it down as best I can into prioritized subjects, and like I said, the accuracy is only going to be for simulators. Our main goal is to get you confident enough to get you up in the air. So I do play other flight simulators for other reasons, but DCS is my favorite, so we're going to be focusing on DCS. What I love about this simulator is the high fidelity of the aircraft, the high fidelity of the flight model, the way it looks and the way it performs. Now, there's been people online who have asked real pilots, real A-10 pilots, real pilots of certain aircraft, and their response is yes, these aircraft actually respond as close to the real thing as you can. The performance is extremely close as well. The only thing that's missing is stuff that actually would compromise national security. So we're not going to learn exactly how to deploy certain weapons. We're not going to understand the weapon systems fully, because that stuff is not modeled, hidden, and also changed around, which I have absolutely no problem with. This flight simulator is, in my opinion, the best one that we have at this point in time. Nothing compares to this. The choice in aircraft, the fidelity of the aircraft, the flight model, the looks, the maps. I really, really enjoy this game. So we're going to focus on, well, simulator. So we're going to focus on this one. And for anyone who's interested in getting into DCS, I hope that I can make your transition into the world of DCS flight simulators as easy as possible. So having talked about how difficult this simulator is, and I say difficult in air quotes, I think what's daunting about this is the level of information that you can go into. The depth of this simulation is endless. It's very in depth, and that's what makes this game daunting. I don't actually think it's difficult in air quotes again. I think it's just a little bit scary when you realise how much you have to learn, but the only thing that's really required with this game is passion and perseverance. If you're a bit of an aviation nerd, this will seem like nothing. I mean, you're just learning numbers, you're learning procedures, that kind of thing. And you can go online and play without that kind of stuff as well. You can just go and have fun. There's nothing wrong with that. There are dedicated servers for people who are diehard, but there's also servers, multiplayer servers, where you can just go and have fun. And you can also just have fun in your own home. You don't need to play online. Online's just the next step. It took me years before I got the guts enough to play online, and there was no reason to be afraid of it. To be honest, I derive a lot of my fun from learning all the in-depth stuff. It doesn't mean that I use it all the time. Sometimes I like to. Sometimes I like to just go have fun. I find it far more rewarding to jump in the deep end and take it piece by piece, and I'll give you some idea of how I go about learning and trying to, eat this elephant one bite at a time. So moving forward, you can actually reduce the difficulty on this. You can actually change some settings to make it more arcade-like, so you can put on game flight mode, unlimited weapons, fuel, be immortal if you like, and then from there you can actually take on extra stuff. But for me, like I said, the most rewarding part is doing it the hard way, and I say hard in air quotes as well. It's a video game. We're in here to have fun. We like flying, we like that kind of stuff, so this is why we do it. It's out of passion and it's out of perseverance. So there's different ways of having DCS or purchasing DCS. There is a Steam version, so if you purchase it through Steam, any of the modules and extra tidbits, bells and whistles, you purchase through Steam. If you get the standalone version, you purchase it off of the Digital Combat Simulator website. So I think it's www.digitalcombatsimulator.com, I think. But a quick Google search will help you with that anyway. So there's a download section where you can download the engine, I guess the base game of DCS. That's completely free. Any extra aircraft you do have to purchase because, well, let's face it, a lot of time and effort goes into every one of these aircraft, so they are high fidelity. They're basically a game in and of themselves. As of the 30th of the 4th 2021, when this video is being made, 2.7 is the open beta version. When Eagle Dynamics are happy with that, that will become the stable standalone version when it's actually stable. I mean, it's been stable for me, but you know, there's bugs that other people experience. When they're happy with that, that will become the standalone version, which of this date is 2.5. So we're going through an engine jump. If I don't mention how beautiful the clouds are, I will be struck down. But other than that, just be aware, Steam, you go through Steam to get all your extras. If you get the standalone version, you go through the Digital Combat Simulator website. Now, there's not really, in my opinion, I would use the standalone version because I just prefer that. I know it. I do have the Steam version because back in the day I purchased the A10C originally in the box from a game store, and then it went to Steam, and then it came out of Steam, and then it went to standalone. So I've got like 3 different versions of this game, which is quite sad, but I do. And I try and keep on, you know, sometimes I'll play 2.7 or you know, I'll play the open beta to check features and that kind of thing, but then I'll go back to standalone if I want to. It's totally up to you. But just be aware that purchases are separated. That's really the main concern. There's not really any huge difference between the versions. If you purchase modules from the website, they're just not Steam compatible, and I think that has to do with licensing and whatnot. I just prefer to use the standalone version, so don't be too confused about that. The only real major thing you need to be aware of is that 2.5, as of this date, there is a stable version, which is 2.5, and there is an open beta where they test new features and try and do certain things, and that's the open beta, which as of this date is 2.7. They're really the only 2 things that you need to be mostly concerned with. Because this is a Super Green series for newcomers, we're going to briefly touch on hardware. We're not going to go too far into that because this series is more about the game and the sim rather than requirements. I learnt the most difficult portion of this simulator with a simple joystick and the keyboard. The further you get into the hobby, the more equipment you might want to get, but I started off with a simple joystick and a keyboard, and I learnt the basics from there, and then I got hooked. The further you go into the hobby, the more expensive it gets, but to begin with, you probably don't want to use a mouse. Just get a simple joystick and go from there. There are a lot of tutorial videos out there. The community, although people joke about the elitism, in air quotes again, in the community, I have not come across anyone who is not happy to help. We love this stuff. Most of us are aviation nerds. I wouldn't imagine someone playing this game if they weren't an aviation nerd. So we're very happy to help. We'll give you as much information as we can. Don't feel threatened by us at all. A lot of us are like me, just plain old nerds. I pretend to be an elitist, but I tells you what, my my takeoff to landing ratio is heavily weighed towards takeoff. I've done a lot more takeoffs than I have landed, and in real life that's not very good on the resume. So I moved up from a simple joystick up to the TMS Warthog, which is a replica of the A10C's controls, which are roughly based on the F4 Phantom. And that's quite good because it's quite ergonomic, the buttons are all in the right spot, but there's a lot more options when it comes to hardware that you can use. There's a lot of other companies out there, there's a lot of joysticks out there. They can get quite expensive. I myself, I use Track IR, so when you watch these tutorial videos when I'm flying, you will actually see my head move. Even in my previous videos and my prototypes of tutorial videos that I've done, you'll see my head move. That's through the use of Track IR. I've also got VR. This game does support VR. It also supports exporting instruments, so if you want to build a pit, a sim pit, that is possible. I have two MFDs that my old setup, I used to export the MFDs, which are the multifunction displays inside the A10, to another monitor, and I could use the buttons for that. So this simulator does give the opportunity to build upon the equipment you've got, so you can actually build a pit. And there are a lot of tutorial videos if you're looking to do that. It is a very long and difficult route, but it is possible, and DCS does give you the tools and the opportunity to go that route if you want to. So when you first download DCS, you're going to see that you've got the Mustang Trainer and the Frogfoot. If you can't speak Russian, you can actually change that over to English inside the aircraft. From my understanding, I myself have only flown the Frogfoot once, to be honest. You get the Caucasus map. You do get some instant action stuff from memory, but you won't have these maps available. They are extra purchases. You can, however, create a fast mission. You can edit missions as well in the mission editor. Campaigns you usually have to purchase. Multiplayer is available. Logbook will keep track of what you've done. The encyclopedia is pretty cool because that'll actually show you information about SAM sites and whatnot. That's pretty cool. Training, very invaluable. If you want to learn a particular, fairly basic stuff, but if you want to learn something, training is where you go. It's not for everyone. Some people prefer YouTube videos. With this kind of thing, it really depends how someone's telling you what to do. Sometimes it can get complicated because you're just not understanding what this person's talking about. So there are plenty of YouTubers out there willing to help. Replay, it is what it is. It replays. Sometimes it screws up because it's just playing back inputs and outputs in the game engine. So after long periods of time it does play up, and if you speed it up and slow it down, my experience is weird things start happening and errors start creeping in. Mission editor, obviously. Campaign builder, you can build campaigns which are a set of missions back to back. So these extra things in here, you have to purchase them. These extra aircraft, you have to purchase them. You can buy campaigns. They're generally not too expensive if you want to run in and do missions and that kind of thing, but it's not a necessity. Speaking of non-necessities, SRS, it's a radio mod, so that'll give you the ability to tune into different channels. Some servers are really hardcore and they're really fun to play in, but you'll have an ATC. Radio calls are not my thing. I still screw up when I do them. Most of the time I don't even do them right, but I still try. So don't be embarrassed, just go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. TacView is not installed on here on my 2.7. TacView is basically the replay system, but it gives you information on a lot of stuff. Sometimes that doesn't work online because it gets blocked, I think, from memory. Don't quote me on that. But if you want to play back a mission and see whether your missile ran out of steam, or why didn't you hit that guy, or who killed you, or whatever, TacView will actually play that back. But I think from memory I've hopped on servers before and it says TacView disabled, just for cheating purposes and stuff. It cans it. But we're coming to a close of episode 1. This particular one we've kind of focused on DCS and a little bit to, I don't know, kind of get you there. The next few episodes are going to start to focus more on getting you up in the air and more aviation based concepts. So like I said, I'm not a pilot. It's not going to be accurate. It's only accurate enough within the sim, because the scope of this is going to be DCS. We're not going to go outside that into real world stuff. We will touch on real world concepts, but I'm not a trained pilot. I just want to get you guys comfortable and up in the air. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and hopefully I can make this green series something that is appreciated in the community with any luck. Thanks for watching.